Today, the Supreme Court voted to uphold a decades-old law that governs tribal adoptions.
It's known as the Indian Child Welfare Act, or ICWA.
So what is the Indian Child Welfare Act, and why is it relevant today? The story goes back to the 1950s and 60s, when Native children were routinely taken from their families by social workers and placed in white homes.
Lately here, we've had a lot of trouble with the social welfare of Benson County coming in, taking children away from the mothers and fathers and grandmothers.
We want our children and our grandchildren, but we are not allowed to keep them.
We call it the scoop era because your children weren't safe playing in their front yards. Your children weren't safe walking home from school.
When a new car comes into the yard, they run in the house, and Mama, are they coming after us now? And they're always, every day and every night, when a car comes, they're afraid that they're coming now to get them. Because they hear the talk, too.
Native families were basically under surveillance by social welfare agencies, and they used any excuse they could to remove Native children.
Back then, there wasn't any running water. There was no electricity. So if you have a caseworker coming in and seeing somebody living what they thought not in very good living conditions, and they had kids, they would remove those kids.
My very first recall is being lifted into the window of a red truck and placed between two strangers. And the smell of the skin of the woman next to me, the smell of the dust of the man, when these became my parents, my adoptive parents.
Starting in 1968, I was tasked with trying to determine what was going on with tribes nationwide. Virtually every tribe in the country was experiencing somewhere in the 25 to 35% out-of-home placement situation for all their kids. There was frequently not an allegation of child abuse, almost never child abuse. Child neglect, yes, neglect by the lights of what these caseworkers or social workers wanted to define as neglect, which was almost always conditions of poverty. They weren't doing the same thing to white poor folks. They weren't doing that.
My mother was taken during that era from our people, from my grandparents and my great-grandparents. While my grandma and my great-grandparents are fighting to regain custody, my mother has already been transported out of state into white adoption. The family that adopted my mother was really abusive, and when she got pregnant with me, they sent her away to a Catholic girls' home. She went into labor, and then the nuns brought paperwork for her. And they said, "You just need to sign these." And I was taken from the room, and she asked, "Where's my child? Where's my little girl? I'm gonna hold my baby." And they told her, "You will never see your child. You signed papers, adoption papers for her."
The Bureau of Indian Affairs established this project called the Indian Adoption Project, which was funded and financed by the federal government, but it was carried out by the Child Welfare League of America and its affiliated adoption agencies.
So these are the papers that changed my life forever.
The market for Indian children emerged because the white families wanted to adopt a white baby, but white babies were in short supply. And so they started to look elsewhere. And the next best thing, it seems, was a Native American kid.
We were being advertised to middle-class white America as of these like poor Indian waifs who have no one, who have nothing.
And they made sure they used words that made us seem like we were orphans, the child that nobody wanted. I wasn't needing a home. I had a home, and I had a family. I had a huge family that cared and loved for me. But I remember my adoptive mom said, your mother didn't really want you. She just wanted to keep you so she would get a welfare check so she could drink. That I needed to be grateful, more grateful, because any Indian kid on the reservation would be happy to be where I'm at.
Everybody knew that they were children in out-of-home placements, but nobody connected the dots and realized that this was an epidemic.
We have called these hearings today to begin to define the specific problems that American Indian families face in raising their children.
This was an unknown issue in the Congress, and we had to make it a known issue.
Well, they always come to me and said that I wasn't a very good mother and everything, and that my children would be better off if they were in a white home or if they were adopted out.
They said that, but were they ever able to prove that in court, or did they give anybody a specific example of why you weren't a good mother?
It was never proven in court that she was unfit.
We saw an issue that had to be addressed, and you had grandmas and aunties gathering together, and they were out there fighting for our children.
Several hundred Indians and their supporters walked from the Lincoln Memorial past the Washington Monument up to Capitol Hill today to support certain legislation, including one proposed law that will affect their right to decide what can happen to Indian children.
We mounted a massive campaign to get this law through. It was just jubilation, just total jubilation.
Hirsch was the main author of the Indian Child Welfare Act, which passed in 1978. It affirmed the authority of tribes over their children and enacted legal protections for Native families. If a child had to be removed, it prioritized placement with relatives, tribal members, and in other Native homes.
The Indian Child Welfare Act, that was a blessing for our children. Some of the kids were coming back from being out in foster care, and they were hurt. Their spirit was hurt. They didn't know where they belonged. Their identity was gone. You want to make sure that your kids are safe. Let us do our job. Let us take care of our children. And it is our right. It's our right to take care of them.
But more than 4 decades after the law was passed, it was the target of a lawsuit and ended up before the Supreme Court.
Petitioners argued today ICWA went beyond Congress's authority to govern Indian affairs.
That law is being challenged by a white evangelical Christian couple who allege that it discriminates against them on the basis of race.
One Texas family wants the justices to strike it down and make it easier for non-Native families to adopt Native American kids.
Native communities and supporters were galvanized by the threat to the law and the threat to tribal sovereignty.
We will not go back to a time when our children were stolen and taken away from their homes. We will not go back to a time when we lost our voice and our power to protect our families.
This legislation is so important. It is about the future of our nations, the future of our communities.
But in June 2023, the Supreme Court rejected the challenges to the law. Justice Neil Gorsuch wrote that Native American tribes remain independent sovereigns with the exclusive power to manage their internal matters.
I think of the generational suffering that my family has endured, and I think about my life and the disconnection that I felt and I searched and I longed for my whole life. And had ICWA been in place at the time of my forced adoption, I would have been placed with someone within our extended family. I would have grown up immersed with my community and my culture. And so healing for me has taken a long time. And it wasn't until connecting to our culture and our ceremony that I started this healing of my own.
For Rebecca Black, witnessing her daughter and grandsons develop their own connection to their culture is another step forward in overcoming the past.
During the ceremonies, like when I'm dancing and I'm singing and I'm able to be a part of that, it feels powerful. Because it's healing. It's beautiful. It's amazing to know that you're there witnessing me doing my thing. And each time that we do it, I feel stronger.
Yeah.
I feel my Indian is stronger.
Yes. It took 4 generations to heal the trauma that was created from my mother being taken from our people.
And so the hope is that with each generation, it's going to get a little bit easier on them, a little bit less that they're going to have to heal from.